Welcome to Factotum Life. We are out in the garage this morning and I have a little bit of an air conditioning project to go ahead and do. What we have going on is we have multiple things. We had a refrigerant leak that completely emptied out the AC over the course of winter. And in my routine for inspection, what I found was possibly a leak from the rear evaporator area. Now the evaporator's been replaced on this. It doesn't actually seem to be coming out of the evaporator area, but what I'm thinking is going on is that one of the seals sort of let loose for the expansion valve, and what we have right here is our expansion valve for the rear of our 2011 Dodge Grand Caravan. The other issue that I had was because this was already replaced, there was an aftermarket expansion valve used about 5 years ago, and it would stick. Didn't work all that great. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to replace it, put new seals in it. We're going to also replace the dryer. And then what we'll do is we'll suck it down, we'll put a vacuum on it. I might have a little bit of nitrogen left. We could maybe speed this up and flush it with nitrogen, and then I'll be able to recharge it with R134. So that's what we're going to do today. I don't know how well this is going to go. Last time I worked on this, it was kind of a ball of rust back there. So I'm hoping that things work a little smoother. I don't have to save the retention pieces, what we have here. So if I have to, I'll get the drill out. Let's get to work. Okay, so this is what we're looking at. What we're going to do is we're going to clean up the sand and the dirt a little better. Make sure we don't introduce any foreign debris into our air conditioning system. And then we're going to start working to remove it. I don't know if we'll be able to get this off without getting into the evaporator. Okay, what we're doing here is I removed the liquid line, and we're going to tape this up to try to prevent introducing crud into our system. Alright, we're going to try to get this off. It's still in the vehicle. I'm really not all that confident that this is going to occur. We're probably going to have to put an evaporator in it again because we can't access it, but we might as well try. out in the garage again with the minivan, and we have sourced all our parts now. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to take apart the rear section of the interior to gain access to the HVAC module or HVAC box that is behind the plastic here. And we're going to be replacing the evaporator, which is right here, and we're going to put in a new expansion valve. We're going to put a new filter dryer up front, and we got a seal, and I've got a new blend door piece here. And the only reason why I know I'm going to need this is because 5 years ago when I replaced this, I found that this was cracked, and I ended up gluing it together, and it still works, but since I have to go back in there, I'm going to replace it. So that's what we're going to do today, and we're replacing this all because the expansion valve has splash from the roadway up to it. There isn't a shield around it. Unfortunately, I never got around to putting a shield in, so it ended up corroding to the point where it all leaked out. So we're going to put it all back together. Even though I don't anticipate owning this van for another 5 years, I'm going to put a shield on it anyways, just because you never know. See if I can move this up forward enough. I can't, so we're going to take this out because I got to get access to all this.
Just to show this camera. Yeah, you're right. It's a big one.
Right in there. Yep.
This is a very old name. Right? Right, guys?
I don't know if it's that old.
Yeah. Oh, guys! Hey!
Loose. Got bolts that are loose.
Hey, Dad.
Yeah.
If you see a high place of this, when and years old.
Hi, buddy. How are you?
Good. And something Dad.
He does. Trying to.
There, the novel.
Okay.
It's dusty.
It is. Okay. Now.
Not right? You need this to be good and new. Right?
Yep.
Right.
Okay, so what we've gone ahead and done here is I've luckily there's just a strap that holds that in.
Yeah.
And we were able to slide it out, and now we're gonna essentially disassemble this all and
put
gain
that
access to
down.
this. All right, so I went ahead, I ordered one of these. It was actually kind of expensive. It was like 40 bucks. I didn't realize, I had forgotten that there was actually two in the box, which, my bad. However, I only had one that was actually technically not right. So when I did this 5 years ago, I took it all apart on a Friday, and lo and behold, I find the blend door was damaged right here. And what I did was I glued it and put it back together, and it's worked this entire time, but it is breaking apart again. You can see right here. So we replaced it with a new one. That's fine. Unfortunately, it's one of those deals where you could just be like, well, it's got 160,000 miles. We're going to replace the blower motor. We're going to replace the resistor. We're going to go through and make sure it's all right. That way we don't have to go back in here. But, this stuff isn't cheap. I've spent about 200 bucks on this, and I don't know. I guess I'm willing to take a risk on it at this point. So we'll start going back together here. So what we've done here is we've attached our expansion valve to our new evaporator. I did buy this piece, did not come with the evaporator, and it did not come with the expansion valve. So I purchased it. Okay, one of the most important things you want to do when you're putting this back together is you want to ensure that your flaps are going into place. And I can tell you this one right here, I had to kind of get in and be able to see that this one's not aligned either. So we want to make sure we get that aligned. There. So those two are aligned now. And I'll tell you a real quick story. When I was in high school, I was with a apprenticeship program where I worked in a Chrysler dealership for a number of days. I think it was 2 or 3 days. And then on the opposite days, I would go to specific training classes, auto repair. And this was in high school, and this was in lieu of going to, like, say, shop class or other elective high school classes. One of the benefits too was in the summertime in high school, I would work full-time at this Chrysler dealership. Well, this was during the late 90s, and during this time, it would have been 97, 90, anyway, it doesn't matter. We would have a lot of the LH cars come in, and the LH cars were like the Chrysler LHS, the Chrysler Concorde, And for whatever reason, they had issues with the evaporator in the front that would leak. Sometimes they might be in warranty, sometimes they might be out of warranty, sometimes the dealership might help out a customer. It got to the point where a lot of people really were not that, they didn't like doing them. It quickly became apparent that I actually was somewhat okay at doing them. And what I would do, I could make book time on it. And not only would I make book time on it, but the technician that was supposed to be overseeing me claim that time on their sheet. So, if it paid 7 hours and they were paid $30 an hour, they would make $210 on their paycheck based on the work that I put in. And the benefit, for them was that they were supposed to oversee it, sort of manage it, and they maybe didn't have to work as hard, or they could work on other stuff while I was working on this on a flat bay. And then I would just make my base hourly wage. Well, it got to the point where that's all I was doing. I was pumping these out left and right. And as a high schooler, I, maybe felt cocky. I didn't full understanding of what possibly could go wrong. And what ended up going wrong, and it started with one vehicle coming back where it wouldn't come out of defrost, or it was stuck in a certain position. And basically these doors got wedged when I put the cover back on. The guy he really should have been overseeing me, should have been, and there was no input. I mean, the guy would barely he would grunt. You would talk to him, he'd grunt. That's all he would do. So I had to figure out what to do with this, and I did the best that I could, but it was a lesson learned, because obviously the irony is that they didn't want me doing anymore after that. And the irony, I guess, is that you learn from your mistakes. You can try to download as much information from somebody as possible, but the reality is, you think through the steps, and you maybe will think forward ahead of the steps and try to really see where the potential problems are and put it back together and get it out the door. And, the reality is that doesn't always work in your favor. And sometimes, there's mistakes, or there's issues that will crop up that you may never have anticipated, and you learn from them. And then going forward, you generally don't make those mistakes again. And so I didn't get to do any more evaporators, which was fine with me, because it was in a shop that was 90 degrees. It was always in the summer. It was 90 degrees. It was hot. It was humid. You're crawling around the floor. You're trying not to get the leather and headliners dirty and that sort of thing. It was crap work. But that's always kind of gone forward when I put these together. I always make sure you get these flaps working. And unfortunately for the technician that should have been overseeing me, he ended up having, I think, 3 of these come back where the flaps were out of place, and he had to take them all back apart, and he had to fix them. And of course, I felt bad. No one wants to screw up, but that's what happens. We got these in place now, and it looks like the flaps are where they need to be. This one is too. So we can start putting our pieces back together. All right, we have our box back open, and what I'm going to do here is we have, we're going to put some Armaflex right over the side here, sort of like right there. I'm going to do both sides, and hopefully we don't cause too much issues doing that. So I have to be careful with sometimes with this aftermarket products. They're just enough where they technically work, but they'll introduce a new problem. And in this case, I'm quite sure that I would have had a rattle, and I don't want a rattle. Now, I think it should be tight enough. I don't necessarily want to put anything on the end, because I also, the challenge here with putting in Armaflex is it going to just hold moisture, and then, you know, it collects and gets stinky, and so I'm going to take my chance on that. All right, so we have our box back together now, and we're going to verify one more time that our blend doors are closed or are in position, and they are. So we're good there. We don't have this rattling as much, so I think we're set. I'm happy with that. And what we're going to do now is we've got a seal kit that kind of beat up. It's not very helpful. But anyway, what we're going to do here is we're going to put this in.
Hey,
Yeah.
found out where they are.
What? Huh? All right, so we got our seal, our new seal, our body to heater box seal. And what we're going to do here is we're going to install this seal. I think this, I don't know what this seal is for. This. Okay, what I like to do with, what I did was I bought a seal kit, air conditioning seal kit, and that way I'm not bothering going and identifying each individual seal that I'm potentially going to replace. I just buy a generic seal kit, and then I match it up when I'm done. Like so. This nylog is it's supposed to be compatible, so hopefully don't have too many worries with that. All right, we're going to tighten that up here in a minute, but in the meantime, we need to get this together. Okay. Okay, so we've got this out. Now, the next thing I need to do is we're going to pull off our O-rings. What you haven't seen me do and what you're not going to see me do is put oil into this system. Last time this was worked on, there was quite a bit of oil put in with the assumption that it had leaked out, and I honestly think there's too much oil in the system, so we're not going to add any in. I really haven't seen too much get lost. All right, thanks for watching. You have reached the end of the video, and if you're still watching, I installed the rear shield, which I will show you in the clip. But everything turned out well. The air conditioning works nicely, and hopefully this is the last air conditioning project I'll do for a while. on this car or ever. But thanks for watching. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to the channel.